B3 is slope from 2 points. So today we aren't going to graph it. We're going to be doing the same idea as when we graphed it, but we're going to be doing it from 2 ordered pairs this time. And we want to be able to visualize how would that look if we had those 2 ordered pairs. Okay, so slope. Let's talk about what is slope. Who can remind us what does slope tell us, or what is it?
A fraction that tells how to move. A fraction that tells the point how to move from point to point.
Yeah, a fraction that tells us how to move from point to point. Good morning, Destiny. We're on your notes. So it's from point to point, so that's why we really only need 2 points. But remember, this point to point, it like repeats. It goes up, over, and if we get lost, we can just keep doing that. Okay, what 2 things does it tell us? There should be one in there. Look back if you need to. What 2 things does slope tell us? Good, thanks, Jay. Steepness and direction.
Attention students whose last names begin with J as in Jello through L as in lamb. They go to the auditorium for their photosynthesis time.
Alright, so if your last name is between J and L, you can go get your picture taken if you have not done that yet. Between J and L. Alright, so it's going to tell us the steepness, so how quick things move, and the direction, so which way it's moving. Morning, Nemo. Alright. So to find slope, remember what letter did someone somewhere decide slope is going to be called? M. Someone somewhere decided slope was M. So we have 2 ways to find slope. From my graph, we said M equals what last week? Slope. You're right, M equals slope. How did we find slope last week? With our words? Good. Rise over run. Just going to close this for a second. Rise over run. Okay, but now if I have 2 points, I don't have a graph to look at that rise. And remember, does rise mean to go up or down or side to side? Ooh. What does rise tell us to do?
Up and down.
Up and down. So on a graph, if we think about ordered pairs, is it the x's that go up and down or the y's?
Y.
The y's. And to find that distance, we subtract, just like we did in our warm-up. Y minus y. And for our run, that goes left and right. And on a graph, which coordinate goes left and right? X's or y's? X. So that's going to be our x minus x. Okay. Now we do like to sneak this in. We like to do y2 minus y1 and then x2 minus x1. And that just tells us where we are getting those points from. Okay, so from an ordered pair, remember ordered pair has the parentheses and a comma in between. In an ordered pair, which part comes first? X, so they both go X, Y, X, Y. And the 1's have to come from the same part, and the 2's have to come from the same part. Okay, so we're going to say X1, Y1, X2, Y2. We just sneak in those 2's. They're a little bit smaller. We call them subscripts. So you might hear a teacher say X sub 1, which sounds really fancy, but it's just saying it's a subscript. It means it's small and in the corner. So y sub 1, y sub 2, all those things. All right, we have 3 examples today that we're going to do. And then we are going to get the rest of the time to practice. It's going to be great. Jay, can you put away your phone, please? Thank you. All right, so all of our directions on the practice is to find the slope between the points. All right, so for our first example, number 1, all of our examples are going to look really similar, but there's a little bit different reason why we do each one of them. Okay, for our first one, we're going to have in parentheses negative 15, negative 4. So negative 15, negative 4. And 2, negative 13. So negative 15, negative 4, 2, negative 13. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to label those ordered pairs. So negative 15 is a what? X, which means negative 4 is a Y. 2 is a X. Negative 13 is a Y. Now, it doesn't matter which ones are 1s and which ones are 2s, but the X and Y ones have to go together. So the 1s go together, the 2s go together. I like to just put the 1s first, because to me it's like, oh, these are the first X, this is the first Y, so they get 1s. This is the second X, and then the second Y, so they get 2s. I'm going to highlight my X's in yellow. And I'm going to highlight my Y's in pink. If you want to highlight, you can. If you'd rather use like a colored pencil to like just kind of scribble over them a little bit to get a light color versus the darker highlighter, you can. You can write this down. Leave a space.
Because,
Leave a space. Right here.
oh, okay, I didn't know, 'cause I'm just gonna.
There you go. Yeah, and then I'll give this to you later. All right, so we have M equals and we're going to just rewrite that formula for us so that we get that really ingrained into our brain. So how does that formula start?
Y1 minus Y2.
Close. Y2 minus Y1. It always goes 2 and then 1. I don't know why. Someone decided somewhere. Over X2 minus X1. Now some people go real extra with their highlighting. They highlight all 4 numbers a different color, and I'm like, whoa. Cool, but that's a lot. Okay, you do that. If you want to do 4 different colors to match each X1, each X2, you can. I just like to do X's and Y's. That's the way my brain works. I'm just going to keep my highlighters uncapped right now, just like this. If that's how you want to do it, you can. So we're going to do it a couple times. All right, so what is my Y2? What is the Y from the second ordered pair?
13.
Negative 13.
Get my picture taken.
Yes. Minus my Y1.
4. Negative 4.
Negative 4. Now, a negative 4, we're going to be really careful with that negative 4 because we don't want that minus and negative to get confused. So sometimes I like to use parentheses. There's nothing special about those parentheses other than it just tells me that's a negative sign and that's a minus sign.
So what if you just make a plus sign?
You could. When we start by plugging in a formula, usually we don't change anything yet until after we have everything plugged in. But yep, you're right. Alright, x2, what is my x2?
2.
2 minus my x1.
Negative 15.
-15. So again, I'm going to use parentheses for that. That's going to help remind me that this is a minus sign, but this one's a negative sign. Alright, if subtracting is not your thing, guess what? That's fine. That's okay. You can use calculator at this point, right? I gotta figure out how to do that in a way that doesn't get rid of everything on my screen. Okay, negative 13 minus negative 4. We get negative 9 over, it's not what I wanted, but that's okay. Who said negative 13? That was supposed to, oh well. Okay, and then 2 minus negative 15. And we get 17. What do we want to do with our fractions, though? Kind of. We want to simplify if we can. And if you're not sure, remember that's okay just to plug it into your calculator and hit that fraction button, that circle with the 2 squares. So this time, can we simplify it? Nope. We usually want that negative to be in the top part, though. So is the negative in the top part? Yep. So that's our final answer. That's our slope. Now, our second learning goal, though, was to visualize what is this going to look like. Because tomorrow we're going to start graphing this based on the slope. Okay? So, if it's a negative slope, which direction is it going to go? Yeah, it's going to be like going down to the right. Okay? If it's less than 1, does that feel like it's going to be steep or not steep? Steep would mean it's going really fast. Really fast. It's going to be not as steep, so we're going to make it kind of a long, slowly going down line. It's going down, but it's not going down that fast. This is a hill you could probably run down without tripping over your feet. It's not too bad. All right, number 2. Number 2, we have 14, 3. And 7, 7. That's not right. Duh. Okay. Whatevskis. Just gonna go with it. Alright. So again, first thing we're gonna do is label. So I like to do our X, Y, X, Y. I always do my X's and Y's first, because that ordered pair always goes X, Y, X, Y. And then we can determine which one we want to be the 1s and which one we want to be the 2s. It doesn't matter which one is which. Do you guys want this to be the 1s or the 2s?
1. No. 1. Okay, 1.
1s? 1s this time? We'll switch it up next time. Alright, so X1 and Y1, which means this point is the 2s. If you want to highlight, go ahead and highlight. I like to highlight my X's one color and my Y's the other color. The biggest thing I see students goofing on isn't necessarily the 2s and the 1s, it's the X's and the Y's. People like to get their X's and Y's goofed. So that's why I like to highlight my X's and Y's, so that I make sure that I'm using the right part of the point. Alright, so my formula is Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1. And remember, you might hear a teacher say X sub 2, X sub 1. It means the same thing. They're just saying sub to let you know that that 2 is small. It's a subscript. What you would use if you're going to use like a, if you're going to use Microsoft Word. Alright, So what is our y2? What are we going to substitute in? What are we going to switch out? 7 minus our y1, 3. Yeah, this isn't what I wanted. Oh well. And then on the bottom, what is our x2? 7 minus 14. Yikes. Okay. Just going to go with it. All right, so what is 7 minus 3? 4. And what is 7 minus 14?
-7.
-7. How did you know it was going to be a negative?
Because you can't take 14 out of 7.
Right. You can't take 14 out of 7, so you're going to have to take out negatives. Good. Now, with this one, can we simplify 4 over 7?
Nope.
Nope. But we don't like the negatives really in the bottom. We don't say 4 negative-sevenths. How would we say that as mathematicians?
-4/7.
Yeah, that negative kind of comes out in the front. We would usually say -4/7. So it's kind of like the negative is like a helium balloon. It rises either to the top or kind of out front. We usually don't keep it in the bottom. So again, is this one, this is why I didn't want this one. Whoops. Is this one a positive or a negative slope?
Negative.
Negative. So is it going to be going up or down?
Down.
Down. And is it going to be going down really fast or down really slow? Is 4 over 7 bigger than 1 or less than 1?
Probably.
If the top number is smaller than the bottom, doesn't matter if it's negative. We're looking at we got negative 0.57. So it's still going to be going down pretty slow. Nice and easy. Nice and slow. One of those was supposed to be positive, but that's okay. We'll deal with that in your practice, I guess. Number 3, last one. And you got the rest of the time to practice, which is great. We have this last one, and then we have a little note we're going to make to ourselves on the bottom.
You have no bottom left.
If you have no bottom left, you're going to make a little note somewhere about something. You can make it off to the side, or you can do it where you have space. You can go back up and do it by the definition. I don't know. Or maybe you don't need the note. Maybe you're like, dang, I'm awesome. All right, 13, 6. And 13, negative 2. So xy, xy. Just for funsies, let's put the 2's first. Just for fun. So let's make this x2 and y2. Is that okay? Can we do that? As long as the 2's are together, we're happy. Can we put the 1's together? Yeah, it's okay if we put them last. Alright, last time I'm going to highlight. I'm going to highlight my y's in pink. Highlight my x's in yellow.
Do we switch it to Y1 now, or do we still do Y2?
Still going to be y2. So when we use a formula, we don't like to, when we're given a formula, this formula we technically could switch things around. But usually with formulas, we don't ever switch anything. We keep it exactly how it is. So we're still going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we're going to be getting formulas later this year, like distance formula, midpoint formula, quadratic formula. Whenever we get formulas, we don't want to change the actual formula itself. All right, so this time, what is my y2?
13.
6
Oh.
minus my y1, negative 2, and I'm going to put that in parentheses so I can see that subtracting and that negative are separate. What is my x2? 13 minus my x1, 13. It doesn't matter which one is 2's and which ones are 1's, as long as the 2's go together and the 1's go together. All right, what is 6 minus negative 2? Positive 8, because it's like we're going to go backwards from the negatives. So this tells us start at 6 and then go away from the negatives 2. So away from the negatives is positive 2, we get 8. 13 minus 13, 0. What's 8 divided by 0?
0.
Is it though? 8 divided by 0.
Yeah.
Can we divide by 0?
No.
No, so this is undefined, and that's our answer. So remember with undefined slope, what kind of line are we working with?
Straight one.
A straight one?
Yeah.
Well, all the lines are straight so
I mean,
far.
like, no slope at all.
No slope at all, so is it horizontal or is it vertical? Good, vertical. Undefined means it's vertical. It's going straight up and down. There is no left and right. All right. I had way more space last class than this class. I don't know why. All right, if you have room for yourself, just make a little note. You can make it down here. You could do it like in the margin, up and down. Kind of a quick note. If you have a number like 8 over 0 and 0 is on the bottom, we're going to have an undefined line.
If it's on top, is it just 0?
But if it's on top, like 0 over negative 2, when that 0 flips to the top, can we do 0 divided by negative 2?
Yeah.
Yep, 0 divided by negative 2 is 0. Okay, so if you have a different color highlighter, or somebody, can I use a green one? If somebody else was using a highlighter at your table, I'm going to highlight where those zeros are. And say when 0's on the bottom, it's undefined, but when 0's on top, it's 0. So that's the difference between those two, is where the 0 is placed. All right, that is your notes for today. If you have been gone for a couple of days, can hand you my notes so you can copy those if you'd like. Give me 2 seconds. All right, you are going to work on